The bridge of the UES Defiance was dead quiet, except for the soft hum of computers working. Commander Jake Morrison stared at his screen, watching an alien message that kept cutting in and out. The signal had been jumping from one space relay to another for 3 whole days. Someone out there was in serious trouble. "Commander, I'm getting cleaner pieces of that emergency signal," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez. She sat at the communications desk, her hands moving quickly over the glowing controls. The worry in her voice was clear. "Sir, this is really bad news." The big screen in front of them flickered and then showed the translated alien message. Jake read through the coordinates, the damage reports, and then he saw something that made his stomach drop. The Ravik Empire. Every human who studied alien races knew that name. The Ravik didn't just conquer planets, they ate them, they stripped entire star systems clean and left nothing but empty space behind. "How many ships are we talking about?" Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Ensign Tom Baker looked up from his sensor station. His face was pale. "The Valani are saying 200 warships, sir. 200 Ravok battlecruisers are moving through their space right now. They're begging for help from anyone who will listen." Jake pushed back in his captain's chair and rubbed his forehead. 200 ships. That was more firepower than most entire civilizations could put together. The Galactic Council had been talking about this problem for over a week now, holding meeting after meeting while real people died. Earth had a strict rule about staying out of alien wars, but sometimes rules had to be broken when innocent lives were at stake. The Valani weren't warriors. From what Jake knew, they were farmers and traders. Peaceful people who had never hurt anyone. They grew food that fed half the galaxy and asked for nothing in return except fair trade. Now the Ravik were coming to destroy them, and the galaxy's so-called leaders were too scared to act. "Amy, get me Admiral Davis at Earth Command. Use the emergency channel." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Channel open, sir. Priority Alpha clearance confirmed." The screen changed, and Admiral Robert Davis appeared. The old man looked tired. Jake had served under Davis for 10 years and had never seen him look this worn down. The Admiral's gray hair was messy, and there were dark circles under his eyes. He'd probably been dealing with politicians and bureaucrats for days. "Let me guess, Jake, you want to help the Valani?" "Yes, sir. They're good people, and they don't deserve what's coming." Davis was quiet for a long time. He stared at something off-screen, probably looking at the same intelligence reports Jake had been reading. The Ravik Empire had been growing stronger. For decades, they'd wiped out 12 different species in the last 50 years alone. Each time, the galaxy watched and did nothing. "You know what you're asking for, don't you?" Davis finally said. "The Ravik have 200 ships. That's bigger than any fleet in recorded history. It's bigger than anything Earth has ever built. Hell, it's bigger than anything anyone has ever built." Jake nodded. "I know the numbers, sir. But there's something the Ravik don't know." "What's that?" "They've never fought humans before." For the first time in days, Admiral Davis smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just spotted prey. Jake had seen that look before, back when they'd fought the pirates in the outer colonies. It was the look of someone who knew exactly how dangerous humans could be when they were angry. "You're right, Commander. They have no idea what they're dealing with." Davis leaned forward in his chair. "Permission granted. But Jake, you're not going alone. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. How many ships can you give me, sir? How many do you need?" Jake thought about it. The Ravik were tough, but they'd gotten lazy. They were used to fighting species that gave up easily. They'd never faced an enemy that came from a death world, a planet where everything tried to kill everything else. Earth had made humans into something special, survivors who never gave up, never backed down, and never showed mercy to those who hurt the innocent. "Give me everything you can spare, Admiral." The Villani have been good friends to humanity. It's time we returned the favor. Davis nodded. I'll start making calls. You'll have your fleet within 48 hours. The channel closed, and Jake turned to his crew. They were all looking at him with a mixture of excitement and fear. They knew they were about to make history, one way or another. Amy, send a message to the Villani. Tell them help is coming. What should I tell them, sir? Jake smiled. Tell them the humans are on their way. Captain Lisa Hayes pressed her face against the thick glass window of the UES Vengeance and watched something incredible happen. All around her, human warships were coming out of hiding like sleeping giants waking up. She'd been in the military for 15 years, but this sight still made her heart race every single time. The Sol system had always looked peaceful to outsiders. Just Earth, some mining stations, and regular trade traffic. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had been preparing for war for decades. Hidden in asteroid fields, buried in the dark side of moons, and tucked away behind gas giants were military bases that most of the galaxy had no idea existed. Captain, look at that beauty, said Commander Mark Thompson, her second in command. He was pointing at a long, deadly-looking ship sliding out from behind the moon. That's the Thunderbolt. Captain Brooks just sent word that all their weapons are ready to go. Lisa nodded and kept watching. The Thunderbolt was a destroyer, built for speed and hitting hard. Its black hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it, making it almost invisible against the darkness of space. The ship had enough firepower to take out 3 regular alien cruisers without breaking a sweat. What about our big carriers? Lisa asked. Don Mark checked his computer tablet. Captain Williams says the Fury is loaded and ready. She's got 200 fighters packed in there, all with our best pilots. And Captain Miller's Phoenix is carrying the same number. That's 400 fighter craft ready to launch when we need them. Lisa smiled. Human fighters were something special, while alien pilots needed rest breaks and had to worry about getting hurt from sharp turns. Human pilots could handle forces that would crush most other species. Earth's heavy gravity had made human bodies tough, and their reflexes were lightning fast. In a dogfight, 1 human pilot was worth 5 alien ones. More ships kept appearing. The Use Hammer came out of an asteroid field where it had been hiding for months. The massive ship was built like a battering ram, designed to punch straight through enemy formations. Behind it came 3 smaller ships that looked almost harmless until you realized they were packed with enough missiles to level a small city. How many ships do we have total? Lisa asked. Mark scrolled through his list. 47 warships, Captain. We've got everything from those tiny stealth ships that can sneak past any sensor, all the way up to the new Titan-class dreadnoughts. Admiral Davis is calling this whole thing Operation Helping Hand. Lisa almost laughed at that name. Trust Earth. Command to give such a friendly name to what was about to be the largest human military operation in history. The aliens asking for help had no idea what kind of helping hand they were about to receive. When humans helped their friends, their enemies usually ended up very, very dead. The really scary ships were the ones most people couldn't see. Cloaked frigates hung invisible in space, their stealth systems so advanced that even human sensors could barely detect them. These ghost ships would get behind enemy lines and strike without warning. The aliens would never know what hit them. Captain Hayes, called Lieutenant Kevin Garcia from the navigation station. All ships are reporting ready for the jump to hyperspace. Everyone's locked onto the coordinates and waiting for your signal. Lisa looked around the bridge at her crew. These weren't just soldiers. They were the best humanity had to offer. Every person on every ship in this fleet had volunteered for this mission. They all knew they might not come home, but they also knew that innocent people were dying while politicians talked. The Villani had been good to humanity. When Earth was still new to galactic politics, the Villani had shared their farming knowledge and helped human colonies grow food on difficult worlds. They'd never asked for anything in Return, accept friendship. Now it was time to pay that friendship back. All ships, this is Captain Hayes, she announced over the fleet communication system. Today we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you mess with our friends. Everyone ready? 47 ship captains confirmed they were ready to go. Lisa took a deep breath and looked out at the fleet one more time. These ships represented the best of human engineering and the finest crews in space. They were about to face an enemy that outnumbered them 4-1, but Lisa wasn't worried. The Ravik Empire was about to learn why you should never make humans angry. All ships, jump on my command. 3.2.1. Jump. Space around the fleet twisted and bent as 47 human warships disappeared into hyperspace. The rescue mission had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Ravik war fleet spread across space like a plague of metal locusts. 200 massive ships hung motionless in the darkness, their hulls scarred from countless battles and conquests. Below them, the burning wreckage of Vellani space stations drifted like dying embers. Still glowing from the recent attack, Fleet Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the destruction through the main viewing window. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. The attack had gone perfectly. The Vellani had put up almost no fight at all. Just like most of the weak species the Ravik had conquered over the years, the Vellani were farmers and traders, not warriors. Their defensive fleet had lasted exactly 12 minutes against Ravik firepower. Now their stations were ruins, their ships were scrap metal, and their survivors were begging for mercy that would never come. It was just another day's work for the Ravik Empire. Commander Vex called Subcommander Crix from his position at the sensor station. His voice had the sharp, hissing quality that all Ravik voices carried. I'm detecting unknown ships approaching from the edge of the system. Vex turned away from the window and walked to the tactical display. Small dots of light showed the incoming. Ships moving in a formation so perfect it looked like they were connected by invisible strings. He counted them quickly. 47 ships total. How big are these ships? Vex asked. Crix studied his instruments. Much smaller than our fleet, Commander. Their largest vessels are barely half the size of our smallest cruisers. Should I open communications with them? Of course, Vex said, his mandibles clicking together in amusement. Let them see Ravik power up close before we turn them into space debris. The communication channel opened, and to Vex's surprise, the incoming transmission was in perfect Ravok language. Most species couldn't even pronounce their words correctly, let alone speak them fluently. This is Admiral Robert Davis of the Human Colonial Fleet, came a calm, steady voice. You are currently in violation of interstellar law. Withdraw from Vellani territory immediately, or face the consequences of your actions. Vex's amusement grew. Humans. He'd heard of them, the species from the death world called Earth. They were supposed to be tough survivors, but they were still just another primitive species that hadn't learned to fear the Ravok Empire yet. Humans, Vex replied, his voice dripping with contempt. From that dangerous little rock you call home. How entertaining. I am Fleet Commander Vex of the mighty Ravik Empire. Your pathetic little fleet will be destroyed in minutes, and then we will visit your world and burn it to ash. There was a pause before the human responded. When Admiral Davis spoke again, something in his tone made Vex's scales itch with an uncomfortable feeling he didn't recognize. It would be years before he realized that feeling was fear. Commander Vex, the human said quietly, you have exactly 5 minutes to begin withdrawing your forces from this system. After that time expires, we will consider you a hostile force and respond with appropriate measures. The communication channel went dead. Vex stared at the tactical display for a moment, then threw back his head and laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge, and his crew joined in. 5 minutes. These Deathworlders actually thought they could threaten the Ravik Empire. Did you hear that? Vex called out to his bridge crew. 5 minutes. These humans think their tiny fleet can stand against the might of 200 Ravok warships. Sub-Commander. Crix was studying the sensor readings more carefully now. Commander, there's something odd about their ships. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database. It doesn't matter what kind of ships they have, Vex snarled. Numbers. Win battles, and we have them outnumbered more than 4-1. These humans are about to learn why the galaxy fears the Ravok name. But even as he said it, Vex felt that strange itching sensation again. The human admiral's voice had been too calm, too confident. No species facing impossible odds should sound that relaxed. Most enemies of the Ravok begged for mercy or tried to negotiate. These humans had done neither. All ships, Vex commanded, his voice carrying across the fleet communication system. Prepare for battle. Target the human lead ships and show them what happens when primitives challenge the Empire. Open fire when ready. The Ravok fleet began to move forward, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Across 200 ships, gun ports opened and missile tubes loaded. It should have been a slaughter, a quick, brutal demonstration of Ravok superiority. What the Ravok didn't know was that they were about to face something the galaxy had never seen before. Humans didn't just survive on their death world. They had learned to thrive by becoming the most dangerous predators their planet had ever produced. The Ravok Empire was about to discover what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. The 5-minute countdown had begun, and with each passing second, the human fleet moved closer. They maintained their perfect formation, showing no fear, no hesitation, and no intention of backing down. Vex was about to learn the hard way that humans kept their promises. Captain David Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Reaper, watching calmly as bright energy beams shot toward his ship. These were the same weapons that had destroyed Villani stations just hours earlier, the same guns that had wiped out countless civilizations across the galaxy. But when those deadly beams hit the Reaper's shields, something amazing happened. They just bounced off. Chief, how are our defenses holding up? David asked his chief engineer. Lieutenant Rachel Green looked up from her control panel with a huge grin on her face. Captain, their weapons aren't even making our shields flicker. It's like they're shooting us with flashlights. Our adaptive armor is absorbing everything they've got. David nodded. This was exactly what Earth's scientists had hoped for when they designed these ships. Human technology wasn't just different from alien tech, it was better. While other species focused on building bigger guns, humans had learned to build smarter defenses. All right then, David said into his communication headset. All ships, you are cleared to return fire. Let's show these bullies what real firepower looks like. What happened next was something the galaxy had never seen before. The human fleet didn't charge forward like angry bulls. Instead, they moved like a pack of wolves, flowing around the Ravok formation with perfect coordination. Every ship knew exactly where every other ship was going to be, and they moved together like they were dancing. The Ravok had expected the humans to line up and trade shots like most species did. Instead, the human ships split into small groups and attacked from every direction at once. Some came from above, some from below, and others swept in from the sides. The Ravok fleet, which had seemed so organized and powerful, suddenly looked confused and clumsy. From the human carriers, hundreds of small fighter craft poured out like angry wasps from a kicked hive. These weren't like the slow, careful alien fighters that most species used. Human pilots were pulling turns and spins that should have crushed them into paste. But Earth's high gravity had made their bodies tough enough to handle forces that would kill other species. Look at that, Lieutenant Rachel called out, pointing at the main screen. The hammer just went straight through that Ravok battleship. David watched in amazement as Captain Stephen Cole's ship, the UES Hammer, smashed directly into the side of a massive Ravok dreadnought. The human ship's reinforced front end was designed exactly for this kind of attack. The alien ship, built for long-range fighting, simply cracked in half like an egg. The Ravik had never faced an enemy that fought like this. Most species they conquered were peaceful traders or explorers. They weren't used to enemies that had been shaped by millions of years of evolution on a planet where everything tried to kill everything else. Captain Kim. Lieutenant Jennifer Walsh called out from the tactical station on Admiral Davis's flagship. The Ravik ships are trying to run away. They're breaking formation and heading for the edge of the system. David could hear Admiral Davis's voice over the fleet communication system, and there was something scary about how calm he sounded. Captain Brooks, I trust your stealth ships are in position. The reply came from Captain Brooks on the Thunderbolt, one of the invisible ships that the Ravik couldn't detect. Yes, sir, Admiral. We've got the whole system locked down. Nobody's leaving without our permission. That's when the Ravik realized they had made a terrible mistake. The human fleet hadn't just come to fight. They had come to win completely. Ships that the aliens couldn't even see on their sensors suddenly appeared all around the system's edges, blocking every escape route. The hunters had become the hunted, and humans were very, very good at hunting. Ravik ships that tried to flee found themselves face to face with human vessels that had been waiting in the darkness. Ships that tried to hide behind planets discovered that human sensors could track them anywhere. The Ravik fleet, which had seemed so massive and unstoppable just minutes earlier, was now trapped in a cage made of human steel and determination. Sir, Lieutenant Jennifer reported, Ravik casualties are climbing fast. They've lost over 50 ships already, and we haven't taken a single hit that caused real damage. Admiral Davis's voice came over the speakers again. All ships, maintain formation and continue the attack. Remember, these are the same creatures that just finished burning Villani civilian stations. They chose this fight, and now they're going to finish it. The battle wasn't even close. The Ravik had numbers, but humans had something better. They had learned to fight on a world that never showed mercy to the weak. Every human ship captain had grown up knowing that in the universe, you were either the predator or the prey. Today, humanity was definitely the predator. The final Ravik battleship spun helplessly through space. Its thick armor cracked wide open like someone had taken a giant can opener to it. Pieces of metal and debris floated away from the dying vessel, sparkling in the light of the Villani systems. Inside that ship, the last of the mighty Ravik Empire's invasion force breathed their final breaths. All around the battlefield, human rescue ships were already hard at work. These weren't warships, they were medical vessels and cargo haulers that had followed the fleet to help with cleanup. Their crews moved with the same quiet efficiency that had marked the entire human operation. No celebration, no victory parades, just people doing their jobs. On the bridge of Admiral Davis's flagship, the mood was calm and professional. The old admiral stood looking out at the wreckage field, his hands clasped behind his back. Commander Mark Thompson approached with a computer tablet full of battle reports. Admiral, I've got the final numbers for you, Mark said. Let me hear. Them, Davis replied without turning around. Mark cleared his throat and read from his tablet. 207 Ravik ships destroyed, sir. That's their entire invasion fleet, plus the 7 ships they had left behind to guard their rear positions. Davis nodded slowly. And our casualties, human casualties. Mark paused and double-checked his numbers because he could hardly believe them himself. 3 wounded, sir. All minor injuries from accidents during the battle. Lieutenant Johnson on the Phoenix bumped his head when his ship made a sharp turn. Ensign Peterson on the Fury got a small cut on his hand from a broken console. And Chief Williams on the Reaper twisted his ankle, running to his battle station. The Admiral finally turned around, and there was a small smile on his weathered face. No ships lost. Not a single one, sir. A few have some scorch marks on their hulls, but nothing that won't buff right out. It was exactly what Davis had expected, though it still felt good to hear it confirmed. The Revok had a reputation as the galaxy's most feared warriors, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. They were used to fighting peaceful species that gave up easily. They had no idea how to handle predators from a death world. A communication signal chimed on the bridge. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her station. "Sir, incoming message from the Villani government. They want to thank us." "Put them through," Davis said. The main screen flickered, showing several Villani leaders. They looked grateful, but there was something else in their expressions too, a kind of nervous fear. They had asked for help and received it, but now they were starting to understand what kind of beings had answered their call. Admiral Davis, the lead Villani, said, his voice shaking slightly, "We cannot express our gratitude enough. You have saved our entire civilization. But we must ask, how did you accomplish something that seemed impossible?" Before Davis could answer, Amy spoke up again. "Sir, we're getting priority messages from all over the galaxy. The Altarian Republic wants to know how we destroyed the Ravik fleet so easily. The Centauri Alliance is asking if we're planning to expand our territory. The Galactic Trade Federation wants to discuss new defense agreements." Davis rubbed his chin thoughtfully. For decades, humanity had kept a low profile in galactic politics. They had let other species think of Earth as just another peaceful world full of farmers and scientists. Most aliens thought humans were weak, because they came from a dangerous planet and had to struggle to survive. They had no idea that struggling to survive on a death world had made humans into something special, something deadly. "Open a general broadcast channel," Davis ordered. "All frequencies, maximum power. I want every species in the galaxy to receive this message." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Channel open, sir. You're broadcasting to the entire galaxy." Davis straightened his uniform and looked directly into the camera. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but carried a weight that made everyone listening pay attention. "This is Admiral Robert Davis of the Human Colonial Fleet. Today, the Ravik Empire made a terrible mistake. They attacked innocent people and thought no one would stop them. They were wrong." He paused, letting that sink in across thousands of worlds. "The Ravik fleet has been completely destroyed. Not one of their ships escaped. Not one of their warriors survived. They learned too late what happens when you threaten people under humanity's protection." Davis leaned forward slightly, and his voice took on an edge that made even his own crew feel a chill. "To any species out there that thinks they can prey on the weak and defenseless, remember this day. Remember what happened to the Ravik Empire. Remember that humanity is watching, and we have a very long memory. Most importantly, remember that we don't lose." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds and millions of ships, alien leaders sat in stunned silence. They had always known humans came from a dangerous world, but they had assumed that made humans weak. Now they realized their mistake. Living on a death world hadn't made humans weak. It had made them into the galaxy's most efficient killers. The age of human isolation was over. From now on, when predators like the Ravik looked for easy prey, they would have to consider whether humanity might be watching. And as the wreckage of 207 Ravik ships slowly drifted through space, that was a consideration that would give even the boldest conquerors pause. The galaxy had a new protector, and that protector had very sharp teeth.